Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the DuvalDive. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game.
And I'm Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com.
And you're listening to this thing on the Believe Podcast Network. Travis, I got to give the divers credit for some of them that were fooled by my great skills impersonating Skip Bayless. Gross. We had some moments that definitely gave some people the lemon booty and, in fact, outright made them a little angry in our previous episode talking about how the Jags potentially got worse. If you haven't checked it out, please do so. Maybe you can tell me if you spotted some places where I was going a little bit Skip Bayless-esque. That would be an interesting thing. Hit me at the SOTG. But now we're here to talk about how we think the Jags got better. But before we make it all positive, sunshiny, and rainbows, let's also remember that our guy Travis D. Holmes was there with Big Cat Country this past weekend for rookie minicamp and availabilities. Bo Kurtzer making his case. Somehow I'm not surprised. But were they going full Emery Hunt, Travis, and showing off his passing skills like on display?
I mean, it's rookie minicamp, brother. There's not much else going on other than guys catching the ball with shorts, and they had no pads on. So if you can catch the ball, this is probably the time where you should do it. So
that's right.
I'd rather that than him out there dropping balls and looking clunky running routes and everything else. The fact that he looked good, hey man, that's a great day one, technically day two for him because it was the first day open to the media. But
man, it sure beats Tank Bigsby. Anyways, so with that being said, you divers are in the comments before the show even opened. Zenith, way too early divers. Hello, way too early divers. Sunstain's in the building. Y'all remember in Moneyball, the idea was guys who get on base. I feel like the theme for the upper part of this defensive draft class was guys who get their hands on the ball. I think that's a fascinating concept. We might touch on that in a portion of this show, so we won't crack that can open fully, but I think it's a very interesting concept. Zenith mentioned Camp likes them, attention to detail about touching the ball, correct? Not early enough, says Robert. Don't worry, man. We still like that you're there in the comments to get it going. The engagement starts. Preston comes in. It is about filling out position groups with traits to open up the playbook and any analytical advantage. If it's working, we have a guide to increase the EPA. If that happens, or for any as it happens, or for any matchup, I think there's some there. We're getting into less of that panic about the picks and kind of understanding that there is an actual target. So for all the people out there that are trying to claim prowess and covering the AFC South and then are out here going, I don't know what the Jacksonville Jaguars are doing. You better figure it out because the divers apparently have. I'm not mentioning anyone in particular, but
this is a weird time of the year for every year. I mean, no matter how you look at it, because if you're a Jacksonville Jaguars fan in the last, decade, you probably know that this is optimism. This is hopium. This is copium, pure uncut hope time frame for every NFL team. So I'm not going to pretend that just because everybody's on board now and they're not going crazy that means it's good things. But I'm also not going to go crazy like the national media and just go too far to the right and say it's all bad because I don't know who this guy is because I don't watch film or whatever the framing is. So overall, yeah, I'm happy to see fans at least watching the film and getting a little bit on board with the guys, but let's wait and see what I've been consistent on this. Let's wait and see what the W's and L's look like. And as far as the development of the coaches on the field, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm landing. Oh, and also shout out Linda Griffin, able to catch a live show again, fellas.
Welcome. I was going to get there too. I'm glad you brought that up. A little something in the comments too I want to hit on before we jump in. Stain mentions T-Wig was just saying that about the versatility they are bringing to the roster. And I can't help but notice somebody out there is listening. Preston points out T-Wig about a week too late. LOL. Talked in the DD comments about that. So the divers were already diving is what he's trying to say. I'm not mad at you. Listen, let's not throw any shade at Wig. It's just, we're a community all having a conversation. That's the way we look at it. We talk with you, not at you guys.
I love that great minds think alike. I'm okay with someone having the same or a similar idea as I have. I don't pretend to be so smart that I'm the only one that comes up with a good idea ever so often. So nah, man, that's dope for me. If he came up with a great idea, as much football as that man knows, All right, shout out. I'm happy we're on the same page. Let's do
Great
this.
take. I love it. He's due to be back here on the show here, I think, at some point. We didn't get him in for the draft. We'll have to try to hit him up. I know he's a busy dude. But by the way, before we get off and running, the thing I am going to point out is something that's a genuinely happy moment. BHPO404 in the comments had a 5-year-old Duval me in the Atlanta area today. That's, you know what? That's a high point. That's something to start the show on. I'm ready to do this thing, Travis. Anyway, so let's get into the many reasons out there that Travis has put in here for, I shouldn't say Travis has put in here, but we have talked about throughout the show leading up to this that are positives for the Duval Devout and the Jacksonville Jaguars and how they got better. Leading off, and this one seems pretty easy to me, Travis, cornerback. This is one of the reasons why the Jags are better, and you see it here in the graphic. You don't have to go hunting for it. It's Travis. What more do we say there, Travis? Wait, now it's
yes. I mean, I wish it's obviously not me. I'm too aged for this. But no, Mr. Hunter, the fisherman, Travis Hunter. Yo, it's very clear. Like I said this in the recent, I believe it was last Monday's episode of the DuvalDive. Hey man, I believe the cornerback room for the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2026 has no obvious deficiencies at this point. Like since all of their all-season quote unquote improvements, like just looking at the roster, there's not a guy in that starting 3 cornerback grouping where you have an opposing offense who they're circling a guy on the whiteboard. Like that's what it was in 2025. And we told you guys that on a multi-week basis, there's this game, this guy is being circled on the whiteboard, whether that was Tyson Campbell in the early weeks of the year or Greg Newsome after that. And then you even had some issues at safety after that. Like that doesn't really exist in entering this 2026 season. Even in your dime defensive looks, like you got Travis Hunter and Montero Brown outside. You got Jordan Lewis and Jarian Jones, who are both top 10 slot cornerbacks in both slots. They're able to pay in your obvious passing down situations. Like that's major. And I capitalize major improvement for the Jacksonville Jaguars when you had some issues, whether that was a Cincinnati Bengals game, whether that was, the Colts game. You had some opportunities there. You don't got that now. So maybe that gives Anthony Campanelli a few different options of what he's going to do on the back end to help that front end out.
No, I think that's a fantastic point all the way around. The only limitation we put on this position group at all in this offseason, Travis, is health. But things are trending in a particular way where by the time the season's truly off the ground, we're expecting guys to be back and playing well. I think the one thing that might keep us from going full optimism instead of just open copium is seeing the schedule first, right? If you come out here and I forget which divisions they play, but let's say you come out here and Cam Ward is your. What's that?
I believe it's AFC North, isn't it? Is it Cincinnati Bengals and Pittsburgh Steelers and all of those guys, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think you are right. So if you come out here and Cleveland is week 1, you're not as worried about your cornerback situation. Just throwing it out there, So granted, none of that means a guaranteed victory, but one problem at a time here, ladies and gentlemen. So, and a couple of things in the comments popping up, you're already talking about Boerkircher. What is it? Preston mentions, not sure Boerkircher is a get hands on the ball guy yet. Got to see it, obviously. Zenith mentioned it feels nice that our running game won't fall off a cliff if we get a few injuries. Yeah, that's certainly what it seems like right now. I agree with you there, Zenith, 100%. I agree with Fred on this. We strengthen the middle of this football team. I think that's the final piece that we've picked apart for sure. Let's see. And actually, yeah, I like what Storm says to kind of explain your cautious optimism. Rookie camp, you just don't want to stand out for the wrong reasons. I remember when they drafted Javon Foster, and immediately everyone was like, oh, so this was the tackle we drafted. There you go. I can't put it in that.
Yes, that's basically like kind of the way I was trying my best to summarize it on the Saturday's DuvalDive rookie minicamp recap. Like at the end of the day, you're never going to win a job at rookie minicamp, but you can sure as hell lose one. And I was trying my best not to cuss. Sorry, mama. Yeah, you it's one of those things where you can lose the confidence of the coaching staff. You can lose the confidence of the guys around you and especially after you're in the classrooms and they're seeing how you move, how you operate for the most part. So that's the biggest piece of that. But you're not winning the position. At the end of the day, your best opportunity is just to get your opening foot forward and kind of just build on top of that. Also, so we didn't get into the second reason I believe the Jaguars are a much better team than they were in 2025.
We were just about
because I didn't have an image for it, but I want to make sure we at least talk about it. Like, it's the safety room, because I know I talked about the cornerback room, because obviously, I mean, you got 4 deep, really dang good starting caliber cornerbacks for every NFL team, or for most NFL teams at minimum. But then at the safety room, you also you get to add Caleb Bransall and Jalen Husky to that room instead of an early season Dewey Winger, right? And combining that with that cornerback room, that's a pretty significant shift from my perspective. Like, if you believe that the secondary was the main issue, like I do, at least I told you guys this said after the Buffalo game. Like, I feel like the pass rush was an issue, absolutely, but the passing defense, the secondary not being able to even stop guys from getting the ball out quickly, even when they were in press alignment, was a big issue. And I think opening the secondary options up, because you got multiple cornerbacks now who can potentially play a little bit of man coverage every so often. You got safeties who aren't going to be major deficiencies sitting back there. You don't got Dewey Winger, getting heavily targeted before the bye week, and then Eric Murray getting injured and Caleb Bransall injuries. You got legitimately three deep safety options right now with the Jacksonville Jaguars: Antonio Johnson, Eric Murray, Caleb Bransall. 4 deep, really, Jalen Husky. You got so many options, and we talked about the versatility and everything else. Forget that. You got depth. You have starting caliber depth across your secondary. That's saying something. Like, again, the only place I think you may or may not have that is maybe your second string outside cornerback. I just don't know enough about Christian Broswell just yet. I haven't seen that. But for the most part, you're saying cornerback room is stacked. Safety room, legitimate conversation and legitimate competition, stacked. Like, I think that's a great situation right now overall for the Jaguars. I think it's probably even dominant. And I don't think I'm being a homer in saying that, because I try my best not to have these teal shades on. But yeah, I think that's where you're at. If Eric Murray is your stable base for this secondary, for that safety room, you're in a good situation for raising that ceiling in 2026. Like, I don't think that's an overstatement.
Right. And then even over and above, Sociality points out a lot of competition outside of CB1 in the secondary as well. I'm going to put it this way. Competition, how many times have we said it, Travis, is where the table is set in the house of Jimmy Stones. Mission accomplished from that perspective, right?
Well, I mean, just based on the look of the cornerback room, based on the look of the safety room across the board is better, assuming they stay reasonably healthy early. We know the Jordan Lewis, is coming back from surgery situation. The situation for Travis Hunter coming back from injury. We know all those things. So that's huge for the Jaguars in 2026. But what is also huge for the Jaguars in 2026, and we haven't even touched on that piece, was this move from secondary coach Ron Miles to Matthew, Arujo, coming in as the defensive passing game coordinator. Like, we hadn't even talked about that. And honestly, like, Liam mentioned it at the end of the rookie minicamp, and I'm like, oh, that's right. We got to get on that. Because he's coming in for the Jacksonville Jaguars as the defensive passing game coordinator after previously working with Anthony Campanelli in Miami. And if you believe most people around the team, that's your defensive coordinator in waiting. Like, if Campanelli is supposed to get a head coaching job next year, assuming the Jaguars defense looks lights out like they looked in 2025. Now, I'd assume the addition of Matt is probably going to be a better fit this year. Like, for this, it's a younger group, it's a younger voice. He has familiarity with the system, and I would probably think, even if you're the most negative Jacksonville Jaguars fan, if you're just one of those people who've just been beat down by the history of this team, who has that Duval PTSD, and I understand if you are there, that's okay. Even if you're that person, you would probably make the argument that addition of someone who you consider to be your future defensive coordinator would help the passing game operation of this defense who had a good amount of coverage busts last year. Like, I feel like that's a sizable improvement overall. You know, when you're cycling faces at your safety position, you got the cornerback rooms being all over the place week to week. And I was recently reminded by some fans this week, like, they don't even know what passing game coordinators do. Like, somebody was asking me the other day, hey, man, what the hell? Like, what is that? Like, what does that mean? Like, why is that an important thing to me? Like, what? So Timmy Devil says he went back and watched the KC and Broncos game. Dewey and Tyson Campbell out of position the whole game, missing tackles. Dewey going high on RJ Hardy. Yep, I mean, that's right. And again, you got the coverage bust.
But I was just flashing it up there so it could be seen.
Nah, man, you got the coverage bust. You got the alignment issues. You got all of that stuff. Like, that's what I'm saying. But like, if you're a defensive passing game coordinator, and why do I think that that's something that's important is for anybody who hasn't seen it. I got a little bit of a graph on the DuvalDive on YouTube. And if you're listening to on the audio side, they basically handle a lot of the tasks that folks can generally assume that defensive coordinators handle. Like, they take some of the responsibility from the DC to lighten the load. So their job is to make it easier on Anthony Campanelli just to focus on the big ticket items. Mm-hmm. They normally work under the DC while over the secondary coach, if that makes sense. So they analyze the opponent's film. They identify all like the tendencies and like the weaknesses of the opposing offense. They help to install the pass coverages. They implement like all the checks and alerts, like you might hear out loud when guys are talking to each other during games. They lead the meetings to kind of help guys understand the why or the purpose of the coverages or the goals of the coverages, like when they're running their walkthroughs and things of that nature. And during the game, the passing game coordinators, whether offensively or defensively, they're normally in the stands, not in the stands, in the box. So they're up high. They're the eye in the sky, kind of identifying the opponent mismatches and communicating with the DC on what adjustments are needed. Like, so if you got that guy in-house now, knowing all the adjustments, having history in Anthony Campanelli's system, and that's who's over your secondary coach and back in house with a younger voice for your secondary. And you have more of the guys who might fit your system a little bit better. You got better voices, you got better guys. There's no reason why you shouldn't be better overall. I just think that's a fair argument because that's my neck of the woods. I get excited about DB play. That's my soapbox.
No, and watching the upgrades happen, such as they are, the more we look at, Ransaw and Husky and all these other newer guys. When Ray Lane is the weakest link in your chain, potentially, that's a pretty damn strong chain. So I'm throwing out there,
And shade to Ray Lane. That's just saying
what
it is. Like,
not at all. Yeah, exactly. Like, there's a world where he still finds his way in and gets a spot, man, and at a higher place than just special teams.
Right.
That's just where I live, man. It's a whole amazing thing. But another aspect that I thought was interesting that is really exciting when it comes to this defense as we move on, the edge, living on the edge, over and above extending Trevor Walker and all that, retaining Dennis Gardeck, a lot of the other youth that's involved there too gets you pretty excited, I would imagine, Travis.
I mean, yeah, like, come on, like, it's a deeper group. I mean, and not just like a little bit deeper. Like, I was talking to Hacker after the Ryan Hacker, Hacker After Dark over on 1010XL, and we had that conversation, and I was just like, yo, this group is so deep. It's significantly deeper if you believe in the development. So it really just does depend on how well you feel about this coaching staff. If you feel great about the staff, you probably feel great about this group. Like, they're young, but yes, so was Dennis Gardeck. Dennis Gardeck, goodness gracious. So was BJ Green and Danny Strigo. Like, if you believe in their ability to develop guys, then you probably feel like, hey, man, this is going to be all right. They got traits, and traits should generally be good enough. So Wesley Williams, Zach Durfee, you got second year Danny Strigo, second year BJ Green, all being used as edge depth instead of Dewan Smoot, instead of Emmanuel Agba. Like, that sounds like a significant improvement, knowing what we know and seeing what we've already seen in the 2025 season and what we even believe could be the future for those two young guys. I think that's actually reasonable without having to feel like you're, again, drinking the teal Kool-Aid. Like, I don't think that's a big jump to make. I'm believing in these young guys to have development, and the two guys who we've already seen flashes for to at least develop just a little bit.
And not for nothing, you need somebody like that, obviously at a low price, considering how much money is paid at the position. And listen, they definitely did their work to achieve that here. I don't think there's anything else to really say about that over and above the edge, right? It's a whole lot of movement. You secured talent at one of the most important places on any NFL roster, right? Get the other guy's quarterback. They didn't do it enough last year, but they found some pieces that can help them do that. And doing that isn't just about beefing up the edge, Travis. You also want to get involved by bringing in also interior defensive line help as well. All right. Now, I get it. I know where this is going to go already. Let me cut this off, okay? What they acquired may not have been the sexiest thing that everybody wanted. We were all a little bit weirded out that Big Citrus was not drafted. I get it. However, what is it I say time and time again on this show, Travis, right? It's not necessarily, it may not be the guy that you like, but that doesn't mean it ain't an upgrade. And the opportunity for upgrades.
That's the facts. Like, it's functional depth. I talked about this after the Mason Smith trade. It was because, again, Mason, for all of his strengths and faults, was not for the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2024 and 2025, was not functional depth. He wasn't able to be used under either of those staffs. And at the end of the day, if that's your floor, that's what you have to start the conversation. If you can't get past that, you ain't winning nothing. Like, I'm just being honest about that. Like, so you have Rook, you have Regis, you have, those guys instead of Austin Johnson, instead of Colin Saunders, which was frankly a hope and a prayer. That's the coin flip. I'm okay saying, hey, maybe Rook or Roro will be a coin flip. Maybe that's also true. I'm not going to pretend on either side of the line there, but I am going to say that's probably going to be an equitable upgrade overall when you're comparing it against those guys, because you got Matt Dickerson, who gave you significant snaps in 2020 and 2025. What, 40% of snaps, 39% of defensive snaps, if you're not counting special teams, potentially fighting for his roster spot this year.
Wild.
I know we'll have a real roster conversation and a real, a bubble guys episode and everything else later down the line. We've got a whole offseason to go through, but that's one of those things that I'm looking at. Like, if you only are going to have, those 5 defensive linemen at that point, you got Matt Dickerson legitimately fighting for a spot just because you have those other guys on the roster. And that shows you that is going to be some improvement there. That shows you the improvement in that position group.
Yeah, no, I get it. Interesting point here, Princeton brings up. I wanted a run stopper. Regis is energetic enough to be a pass rush factor if he's not getting sacks / pressure. No, I see where that's going there too.
I saw someone talking about this on the socials. And you know how I love to snip these things and give people credit for it, because I mean, it's not from my brain, and I'll say that publicly. But someone mentioned it, and I can't unhear it. Like, it was like, I wonder if Campanelli's defense is going to be similar to that, Georgia Bulldogs college defense, where they just want all these penetrating guys who are strong in pushing the pocket, but they are not necessarily going to be guys who are going. That's why you have to be balanced and able to stop the run and rush the passer. You can't just get a guy who's only going to be a designated pass rusher, because you need to be able to actually be balanced. Containing the quarterback and making them make these ridiculous decisions to cause these turnovers, which is, again, that helps them be a top turnover team. But also it means that maybe you're not drafting one of the guys that we think may be a great defensive, a pass rushing option in the 6th round, in the 5th round, because he's like, nah, I need him to be able to stop the run too. And he can't do that. He can't play in my defense. You know what? If that's the argument, I'm not even going to push back on it. I can actually see it. I'm just ready and willing to watch and see it in action, because we've had multiple games this season where we've shown you guys the tape and said, oh no, they're cage rushing this game. This isn't the game where they're going to get sacks. They're not trying to get to the quarterback. They're trying to keep him in the pocket. We've seen them do that. So if someone told me that's what I think that their philosophy is going to be and their strategy is going to be, cool. You got 2 penetrating pass rushing defensive tackles like in Regis and Ruke, and their job is to push the pocket back and maybe collect those sacks or make a quarterback make stupid mistakes. Cool. I'm here with it. Let's see what happens.
Maybe collapse the cage in question so that you get the shortest distance between 2 points and some defensive tackle coverage sacks, air quotes.
Yeah.
And by coverage, we mean coverage containing the pocket up front, because whether it's Patrick LaVon Mahomes II, right? Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Bryce Young, anybody who could put mobility on stuff, right? Kyler Murray, all these are dudes that you got to watch out for moving around, period, point blank, end of story. And to have that collapse in the middle, finish the job, is a very fantastic point that I really didn't think of until you said right there. But that made them collapse the cage, from within. I agree with that. So got a couple of comments that I marked in here before we head into our next thing here. And frankly, Jordan Roberts asked the question, what does the run game even look like to you guys hypothetically? Like, we didn't overhaul the line as much, to be honest. What sure run game improvement looks like? Guys, need we remind you the tight end room is the one we told you last week by percentage was the one that upgraded the most. Sure, they still got Brenton Strange. Sure, Brenton is still the starter. I don't think there's any question. But whether you're going with butt kicker, Morris, or the kid out of Houston whose name is completely escaping me right now, it's clearly a better group. Hunter Long couldn't catch the ball. Johnny Munt couldn't run routes, right? This was Evan Ingram. They were not, is the punchline, right?
I mean,
so, and that's even without getting into mentioning Pregnon at guard, which not only has JP Acosta said 2 weeks ago that he believes will start, so too did Emery Hunt. It's a very fascinating thing to observe. I'm
very interested in hearing Bucky Brooks's opinion of the run game and or whether or not there were the significant enough improvements to matter. We'll talk to him on Wednesday. So
you suddenly putting in that teaser trailer, Bucky Brooks on Wednesday here on the DuvalDive at 7:30. I see you working, champ.
Oh yeah. Bucky's coming back, and just so you guys remember that pod we had last year with Bucky. Hey man, it was a great time. I do hope you guys check in.
I'll be here for this one. I'm stoked about
this one will be live. The last one was pre-recorded, so yeah, you guys will be able to get your questions maybe answered depending on how quickly we can get in and out of the questions. But I think I agree with you on as far as brokerage is concerned. Like they have the roster. No, go ahead. Get your question.
The other add in here too that Social Alki reminds everybody he caught the pass that won. It was the game winner versus Notre Dame. Pretty clutch for a Y blocking tight end. Methinks rumors of his lacking are overblown, quite possibly. Hopium, maybe, but it's a compelling case, right? Listen, we all know OJ did it, but the gloves were a compelling case. I'm just saying.
I mean, you're not breaking news. Jesus, but I wasn't ready. All right, cool. So, anyways, Nate Brokature and Emmanuel Pregnon. As far as those additions are concerned, like I don't think it's an unreasonable question to ask whether or not they've done enough to change this, to make this running game so different as far as the roster is concerned. But that just depends on what you believe were the issues in 2025, because the Jaguars last year were primarily an inside and outside zone run team. So they're mainly just blocking an area, getting to the spot, shielding guys from that perspective, and kind of scraping up to the linebackers. Now, whether you put that on Tootin, who was over a 65% primarily a zone run guy, or if you put that on the interior O-line, who struggled to blocking games up front, and they did that even in the passing game. They had primarily struggles at right guard. We know Patrick McCarry, a lot of injuries, even from the training camp. So it depends on where you feel about that. But I think it was honestly a combination of multiple guys just being unable to win those one-on-one matchups. And I think that's probably why the staff just maybe they didn't feel consistently comfortable and doing a lot more of those man gap like type of blocking schemes. That requires the offensive lineman to kind of overpower guys and just to be able to move them out of the hole. If you add Emmanuel Pregnon, if assuming he's going to win that right guard spot, I'm just making that assumption, and you add Nate Brokature or Nate Butt Kicker as the Duval devout like to call him, then their potential combined impacts up front, I think that gives the Jaguars a more dominant run game, because that thing fell off a cliff at the end of the season to the point where the Jaguars were often using Wyatt Milam, using Walker Little, Chuma Edoga. They were using these guys as their 6 offensive linemen, splitting them out as a tight end, because they didn't have a better third tight end option. Like, again, Coach Cohen mentioned that on Saturday. So I'm like, now we don't have to do those things because you have an option who can actually run routes and catch passes, and also just so happen to be a dominant blocker, similar to Brenton Strange being a dominant blocker who also gives you something in the passing game. That's the overall point. You have to hope that they can now be efficient and stay on the field And then you're not stuck in 3 wide receiver sets every week. You can even find out your best matchup on this team versus that team, this half versus that half. Maybe these guys don't have the ability to counter what we're doing after the half now because they're used to us running all these 3 wide receiver sets. And now all we do is spam them with 3 tight end sets the whole second half. It's so many options available right there just because they have that versatility that Storm the Desert talked about earlier today.
I'll say this, Travis, and the best way to suffice this that I could come up with is right guard may be a deodorant, but too often have we said the play there stinks. Anyways, so with all that, got it. He ain't even bad. But speaking of things that went faster than me slipping in that dad joke, the wide receiver room improvement is a reason why the Jaguars are better this year to last year. Say what you will about the pickups they made at the position in the draft, Travis, though I think there's some promise there. Forget about the fact that they have some of the top FCS, I was hoping I said it right, wide receivers in as UDFAs. This group is emerging, growing, and in a position to where now Brian Thomas Jr. has to look over his shoulder. And if he doesn't have a better year, there's going to be very interesting conversation to be had, right? At days in, Shoe Parker out there somewhere. Jacoby Myers is the new #1 receiver at current. And oh, by the way, you're still going to sprinkle in some Travis Hunter as much as, you know, Ian Rappaport wants to tell you that's not the case. Right. It's an amazing thing to behold, Travis. That's all I can add to that.
I don't want to say it's an amazing room because they still did struggle with the offense, but they have a whole year now of experience in the offense and a whole offseason to relearn all the intricacies that they missed out on initially because they were just too rushed, too not ready, whatever. Go ahead.
The amount of improvement is what I mean. I'm not here to say that you got a room full of like Pro Bowlers here or nothing yet, right? What I am saying is this is a group that could lead to Trevor making it to 4,000 yards. That's what I mean.
I think that's absolutely fair. Like just taking a beat, just stopping and taking a beat and thinking about what this wide receiver room is versus what we were talking about just last offseason is the most reasonable starting point to the conversation discussing this wide receiver room. Like they took De'Ami Brown and Tim Patrick snaps off the board and replaced them with Jacoby Myers, an increase in Parker Washington snaps, and Travis Hunter likely playing at least in a rotational role. Like if you just think about it from that vantage point of what you are going from to what you're replacing that with, that is a ridiculous, like that is an immense improvement. And I don't think anybody's really thinking about it from that perspective or talking about it from that perspective because the whole Travis Hunter's only playing cornerback conversation is what kind of monopolized the media conversation this offseason just to find out, nah, ain't nothing changed. These reports are just wrong. And that's kind of what it is. So now you're having a real conversation about, I don't know how this is even going under the radar. This is objectively, and that's not me being a homer, objectively, Trevor Lawrence's best wide receiver core he's ever had in his career, bar none, going into the season where we believe that to be true. Like, I don't think there's much of an argument there in his career that I can think of. And like, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong.
You know, what's interesting is, in my opinion, I'm not here to say you're wrong. In my opinion, it's hard to judge that because when he had Zay Jones, did he have Zay Jones and Marvin Jones together? I don't remember. I don't think so.
No. Zay Jones, it was Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, and
Ridley, right?
Third receiver. Yeah, the 2023 was Ridley.
Yeah. So, you know, this was a group that may have been good, but for as many times as Trevor was either on his back or on the run or having to deal with what have yous, I don't know that was an accurate, I shouldn't say accurate. I don't know if that's the best place to grade a room, but the potential on the board is pretty high. I'm
just saying, like, if you're talking man-to-man skill set, like again, whether or not they learn the complex offense and they're able to align, get in the right spots and run the routes in the right way they need for this offense, is a whole different conversation. And if they don't work out, that's the reason they might not work out. But it's not necessarily just skill set, because they may be able to work out in someone else's offense that may be a little bit simpler and may just have them run into a spots and just get open or whatever it is. But I'm just thinking about the best version of this passing attack in the 2025 season was normally with Jacoby Myers, Parker Washington, BTJ on the field, and often either De'Ami Brown, Austin Trammell, or Tim Patrick as your fourth wide receiver. That's normally what it was. Now that fourth wide receiver spot goes from being a high point contested Tim Patrick's or an underneath slot wide receiver in Austin Trammell to a more explosive Travis Hunter with the ability to stretch the field. That matters significantly more, like especially on third downs and obvious passing situations. It's going to do wonders for the offense. That's all I'm saying.
And I love that you mentioned Hunter from the explosive standpoint. My all goes prospect still lives on.
What'd you call it, the fly team or something? I don't know.
I forget what I called it, but yeah, the fly zone. That's right, because it's what's the red zone or the fly zone. That's exactly right. Thank you, Travis. But there's also the element that if you're out here with you're out here with an ace or a joker personnel with tight ends that can run routes, now you're scary because they don't know what you're going to come out with. Oh, they're totally going to run. Oh, hell. Like that real possibility also exists. Obviously, the fly zone package is far more entertaining, but what's going to work in the red zone is these tight ends doing something versatile too. And just in the name of good faith, Zenith in here, can I add a crackhead take? We now have multiple inline tight ends that also have fullback experience. We're going to be putting defenses in a blender with Strange and that boa constrictor. First of all,
not crackhead takes. Wait. Just wait a minute. Exactly. Disclaimer.
Because the disrespect for LaQuint Allen is noted here, Zenith. And how dare you?
Oh, man.
I'm trying to take care of LaQuint Allen's spot. I'm not happy with you.
All right. Man, I said the crackhead take. All right. Cool.
Hey, listen, my crackhead take came true. They actually won the division. What do I know, man? Shoot, listen, it's a whole thing. By the way, another reason the team got better, Travis points out, is the quarterbacks. Now, I have to admit, I wasn't ready for you to point this point out. I don't know where you're going here. Full disclosure. Let me land the plane.
Well, it's funny because I talked about a few of these things on Big Cat Country last week. So if you read my articles over at Big Cat Country, you know where I'm heading here, because it's not just the quarterback and it's not just the system, but it's a combination of both things. But on BigCatCountry.com, I wrote an article, Why the Jaguars Are Built to Avoid a 2026 Regression. And some of this conversation is a part of that article. Some of it is not. But let's get into it. So they're obviously in year 2 of this system, where they previously didn't have a great percentage of I can't say great percentage. They didn't have the vast majority of the system installed. So never forget that the Jaguars did everything that they did in 2025 while running basically a skeleton version of this offensive system. We knew it was difficult. We knew it was hard to learn, but once you get it, it was going to have a lot of answers on the field, because you're giving the quarterback a lot on his shoulders and the receivers and the offensive linemen a lot, which is what caused a lot of those alignment issues, those post snaps, issues and things of that nature. They took a lot of motions and shifts out of the playbook early because they struggled so much just getting lined up in preseason and earlier in the season. Y'all remember this? Pepperidge Farm remembers. I need to remind folks what happened and why it happened, right? So we can remember what that means moving forward. They rarely hit on multiple deep shots throughout the season. We were talking about that into week 11, where they just struggled connecting on deep shots. And I'm not talking deep shots 20 yards deep, because that's what people mostly kind of trying to say is a deep shot. I consider that intermediate for Trevor Lawrence's arm strength. I'm talking 30 plus yards, hero balls, what the fantasy football community calls it. Those shots, they rarely hit on those throughout the vast majority of the season, and they struggled significantly trying to do it even in the Buffalo playoff game. So I'm looking at that part of it. And then they essentially throughout the whole screen game last year. We know about this. We talked about this actively during the season. So I'm just trying to point out how much of the offensive system we didn't see through that, being successful in that 2025 season. After the week 8 bye, what's the staple in Liam Cohen's offense? We talked about it when he was moving over from Tampa Bay, how much of his offensive system was the screen package, was jailbreak screen, bubble screens, running back screens, tight end screens, and we didn't see none of those. Thank you, Zenith. Rest in peace screens. We didn't see none of those in this offense in 2025. We rarely saw draws, running back draws and things like that. We didn't see any power man gap, runs for the most part, other than a few here and there with Travis Etienne. I'm telling you everything that you didn't see that you did see in Tampa Bay, so you know just how much more meat there is on the bone. just how much more in the playbook that they have, they just weren't ready for, whether that's because personnel, whether that's because of the mentals of where the guys were, or, whatever that is. So like, it was versatile in Tampa Bay where all of those running backs were used in different ways. And now it wasn't as much so here in Jacksonville. But now you got Chris Rodriguez coming in. Now you got now you're giving more of the rock to Bashaw Tootin to maybe use him more in that Travis Etienne way. Maybe you use Emmanuel Pregnon, and actually it enables your interior O-line to do a little bit more man things where you're able to truly move guys out of the way inside of the guards, basically. Like, I'm just trying to give options available because it's not just the quarterback, but the quarterback is the one who has the answers, because every time he comes to the line of scrimmage, he's going to have 3 plays in his head. He has options and answers available. He's basically Liam Cohen on the field. So that's why I say quarterback from that perspective, if that makes sense.
It makes a ton of sense, actually. And oh shoot, I unstarted it too soon. There's another comment that I'm desperately trying to find, but I will say Storm the Desert came in and said this team's superpower is its coaching staff. And I think now that I'm thinking about it, if I had thought about this sooner, reason number 7, whatever it is, should be the coaching staff. This is a first full year opportunity they have to make these guys better in a camp. I think that matters, right? They have the opportunity to make the adjustments. We've mentioned, I should say specifically mentioned self-scouting being a huge factor for this group, for this team, and all these other things you're mentioning center around a coaching staff finally have the opportunity to run their ish such that it is.
Right. But these are the things that give folks confidence in. It's not just blind confidence in the staff. You have confidence in the staff because you've seen these guys develop guys who the previous coaching staff did not develop. So now you believe that they can continue doing it again, whether that's Devin Lloyd, whether that's Travis Etienne, whether that's the depth guys. Even you've seen that Cole Van Lanning, you've seen that with these guys be developed by other coaching staffs who were not able to do that. So that confidence breeds confidence. So I understand. And then you've seen these guys change over their entire offensive system and what they're running before the bye and after the bye. Because, hey, man, if this ain't working, we're going to have to find a way to win. And it works. They go from being a team that's truly struggling to a team that's top of the league on offense. They continue finding different ways of winning on defense, despite not being able to have as many turnovers as they had before the bye week. They found different ways to win, and that should breed confidence. I mean, to that point, like, the coaching staff is the benefit. The coaching staff, I don't know, I can't say they objectively got so much better other than the one addition of the defensive passing game coordinator, sure. But I'm just saying that these are all small parts if you're looking across the roster and also in the coaching ranks. That gives you confidence that they can avoid that 2026 prototypical sophomore slump because they're evolving their offense and adding more things to these guys' plates, which means that they should be better. And more importantly, the guys who are leading this offense, being your Trevor Lawrence, or the guys leading your defense, being Foye Oluokun and Josh Hines Allen and all of those guys in the secondary, have now the framework of what's expected of them from the staff, and they're also going to be able to hold the younger guys to that same standard when they're not on the field. When it's not Sunday, when it's a Tuesday in the middle of the week and you got to work out. All across the board, you have options, and that's across the NFL. All teams are doing the same thing, but you've seen the standard be reset here in Jacksonville, and I think there's a positive landing point there.
Yeah. No, I don't have a whole lot to add to that in particular. Self-scouting has been the key. As you put it, and then that's kind of what lifted him at the end. I
got this comment from Daryl L45 says JT O'Sullivan did a great breakdown on Trevor's late throws in the wild card game, which is from the quarterback school. And I watched that one, and actually I thought it was a pretty solid, reasonable breakdown. Even though I did disagree with some of the takes that he had on it, because it felt like there was a lot going on that was bad, that wasn't about Trevor Lawrence, that I thought he didn't like say outright. The only things he said outright, from my opinion, was, hey, man, Trevor was late on a lot of those seam throws. And I actually did agree with a lot of that. But he didn't say why on 2 of them, like he was late. Like Trevor, hey, Parker Washington seemed to run the wrong route on one of them, on the third down play that he should have set down. He ran through the zone. We had those issues early before the bye week for the Jaguars, where they just weren't on the same page. That's what Liam Cohen calls it, being quarterback friendly, like being on the same page, basically knowing what's expected of you, and you and the quarterback reading this field the same way. He also didn't like. It was one of the early late throws that he's like, you can't put the ball late there to Parker Washington, and you got Britton Strange and Parker Washington in the same area. And had I known this comment would have come up, I would have snipped the play. But it just started being, I'm like, no, Parker Washington got rerouted. He got rerouted into Britton Strange's zone. So Trevor Lawrence had to pat the ball another one time, which makes his throw late because he sees this guy wide open, but he had to wait to clear the zone. It was one of those things where I'm like, if you're a quarterback, you got to know that. So I didn't think he was giving Trevor grace in that situation, while also still saying Trevor did struggle that game, but also the wide receiver struggled that game. And a lot of the times it's going to make your quarterback look worse if your wide receivers are late, early, timing's off. You guys just aren't on the same page as far as where you're supposed to be and when you're supposed to be there, kind of all that. So I thought it was a great breakdown, and I think you guys should watch it, but also try to watch it with just blindly, no critical nature, just. And I think folks have come to a slightly different conclusion as far as that's concerned across the board. It was a struggle game for all of that passing operation, not just Trevor.
Well, and I'll even add this: perhaps the left tackle getting whooped was a little bit of an impact.
Shoot, a lot of it impact, and wasn't just him too. Center struggled. Like they were struggling picking up stunts all game, and that was what the Seattle Seahawks and the Rams did. And we told y'all when it happened that week, it was going to come back. Bills weren't a good pass rushing team, but they were still killing them boys on stunts. And they're going to have to work on that all off season, because every team who has seen that playoff run and saw that Seattle game and that Rams game, and those are playoff caliber teams, they're going to do the same thing, because they'd be stupid not to. I say this all the time. The reason sophomore slumps happen is because NFL coordinators and NFL players have more time to watch so much more film to figure out what you struggle with, and they're going to do it like crazy until you show you've overcome that struggle.
They're going to have Super Bowl runners up, the Rams and the Seahawks. I said what I said, on loop. And then, so Slaki mentions that I'm a little petty. Listen, it's not my fault that Cole Van Lannon got hurt, man. But anyways.
But one final point, because I know we're having a whole conversation about, hey, man, why the Jaguars are better. And I think they are. I think there's a religious, like, I think there's a good enough argument to say objectively they can both be better in so many areas. And also some of what we said on the previous podcast also be true, because this is a sport with 53 guys. They're going to be better in some areas and worse in some areas. But I think, yeah, they are worse in some areas. We talked about that. The linebacker conversation is at least a conversation, whether you agree with it or not. The running back conversation is a conversation, whether you agree with that they're better or worse or not. I think if you're saying that they're worse until someone else proves that they're better, I think that's a reasonable landing spot. But if you're saying that they're better, I think there's multiple areas where they're objectively better, especially talking that defensive secondary. And I've often said, if they're going to be a winning team in 2026, it's going to be based on how that defense performs. And it can't just be turnovers. It's also going to have to be the secondary forcing guys to hold on that ball just a second longer. And that's going to result in your sacks actually getting up there. But better doesn't always mean more wins. I need to repeat that for the folks. Better don't always equal more wins.
It's going to be a tougher competition next year with the schedule just by itself, by the way,
right. You could be a better team and still have a worse record than the prior season for various reasons,
and still have a better season in that space.
I mean, yeah, like you could have a harder schedule like the Jaguars could have. I'm not going to say they do or not. Like we'll see how it wraps up next week when they release the schedule.
Paper, yeah, exactly. On paper, how it looks like it is what we should say. Correct.
They could have worse injury luck. You don't know. Like, as much injury luck as, the injury issues the Jaguars had last year. We also talked about that on Big Cat Country and on a previous podcast about how it technically wasn't a very injured year for the Jaguars overall. If you want to look at it from that perspective, especially compared to other NFL teams, that's a big part of the conversation. Also, like, I just want to put it on the record now. Just on the off chance that the team says, they get 10 wins or 11 wins in 2026. I don't want to hear folks in my mention saying that, hey, man, 13 wins is more than 10, like whatever fantasy football and bio type of comment that y'all want to make. I'm just saying that 2005 Jaguars team that lost in the wild card game to the New England Patriots, and that won they won like 12 regular season games. I don't think many of y'all out there, many Jacksonville Jaguars fans, if you're older and like you know what I'm talking about, like I don't think there's anybody out there who's going to argue with me and say that squad was better than the 2017 Jalen Ramsey, Miles Jack, and Leonard Fournette team. That's kind of my point. It ain't about wins and losses purely. Like some of those 2025 cupcakes, like the Tennessee Titans, may not be a pushover. They got a revamped defense now. The schedule might be a little better because the games that were easy, you knew what this was. As long as you don't just come in and fumble the ball, you're going to come walk out of this bad boy with the win. May not necessarily be on the schedule right now. The Colts, they're not likely to be as injured as they were in 2025 in both of the Jaguars matchups. I mean, they lost their quarterback in the first one. Like, in the game.
Uncle Phil was the second quarterback.
In the game with the Jaguars. So the Jaguars play the AFC North. It might be a little bit more of a dogfight. So my overall point is, hey man, the overall summary of this is the Jaguars, I believe, are a better team, but that might not be a better record. And I'm just getting to the landing point of saying, hey man, this is going to be an interesting situation, but I think that they just improve while getting different. And I hope that different is different enough to actually result in more W's than losses. I'm hoping that they can get 10 wins, but we're going to have our real predictions when we get more breakdowns of the rest of those AFC South teams.
Absolutely. Super chat from PJ Brown. Who do y'all think the second London game is? That is fascinating. I'll put it this way.
Fascinating.
I have no idea where that question's coming from. I'll be perfectly honest. I think the irony, the ironic Persimmanders, there's something about, but see, I don't think it's going to be the Cowboys because that's set to be in Arlington. So it would have to be something that's probably labeled as a home game for the Jags. My guess is going to be the Red Tails, and if they have two, the other will be one of the Colts games. That's where I'm going to go.
I would hope it's something like Cleveland and Tennessee. Tennessee, maybe Cleveland. That's my hope. But again, that's where I'm landing because they generally don't want to give the best games away. That's kind of how that normally works. And yeah, again, Cleveland and Tennessee will still be a sellout in London. So that's again, purely top of my head. That's just a guess. If it's not, then he said the second game. So. Well, I guess he's obviously saying that the first game is going to be the Washington game, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, then yeah. Then I'm landing on Cleveland, maybe Tennessee, but
and you're making a great point with the Browns. I can't rule that out. I don't think they're going to send the Steelers over the pond. That's not a thing.
Oh no, they got protection. I believe they can't send them to the pond.
Well, there you go.
I forgot exactly how it worked out, but I believe I recall seeing something like the Steelers game was protected for some reason.
TJ says that the Texans has already run of them, which is absolutely fascinating.
It's rumored, and I saw the rumor, and I believe the account that it comes from, but I'm not willing to say it outright. But
I always love it when the Patriots are in Britain. That's just funny to me, considering the history behind the Minuteman and all that.
Considering the history and the current times, that's an interesting choice. Patriots in the UK is an interesting choice for sure.
With all that being said, I think that's a good place to land the plane, champion. If you'd be so kind, tell the world where you could be found.
Man, you already know. BigCatCountry.com. Save it as your favorites. Get your coverage there. I mean, if you're listening to us on the audio side, please follow us. Please rate and review us 5 out of 5. I mean, treat this thing like it's a survey and you're on a cruise. Like if you're pretend you're on a cruise right now and give us 5 out of 5. That helps us out tremendously. And if you're listening to us on the YouTube side, click that like button. Dude, I mean, I see how many of y'all on here. I really hope and pray we get that many likes. If it is not, I got words for all y'all. I love y'all. I'm just playing. Please don't.
But smash the button, dang it!
Smash the button. They say tickle the like button. We appreciate that. And also, comment on the stream because this thing's only been growing because you guys continue to comment. We have whole podcasts framed around questions that y'all ask in the chat because we talk with you guys. We don't want to talk at you. We want to have the conversations you are having. So keep talking to us. Keep telling us what you want to hear about, and we're going to frame this thing around y'all because the fan base is why we have a podcast. We're gonna keep talking about what y'all want to hear about. But appreciate y'all. Travis D. Holmes on all the socials, the DuvalDive on X, on TikTok, everywhere else. And yeah, let them know where you can be found, sir.
Storm the desert. It's a Monday. Have a sip of an adult beverage and throw a chair at the like button.
I like that. Throw a chair at the like button.
Please don't break your device doing so. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as a student of the game. Check out my writings with UCF Night Zone, and as well as my work covering UCF on Locked On UCF, plus my work covering the Orlando Storm on the Storm Surge podcast. Had a great conversation with our wide receiver, Chris Rowland, who ended up having a big return that set up a field goal. Why is that a big deal? They won by 1 against the Houston Gamblers this past week. Big deal for the UCF fan base too. John Rice Plumlee with a touchdown in that game. But all of the above to say, we talked to Fadarius Payne. He got a big sack on 4th and 1. We talked to Chris Rowland. He makes a big return to set up points. Come see who will come on the show next to have a big play against the Dallas Renegades on Friday. That'll be a thing, so make sure you watch for that. Not to mention, we got a special show on the Storm Surge. Maddie Fresh of the Believe Podcast Network, Spring Boulevard, will be on Tuesday morning for that. So a big week for the Storm Surge podcast. Had to plug that. But most important of all, you Duval divers make this show great, as does my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes. This is Kyle Nash, the student of the game. Looking forward to see y'all Wednesday when Bucky Brooks is on with a giant seagull Duval. Until next time, everyone, class dismissed.